Yours.
Thank you. So today I'd like to talk a little bit about my organization and potential for cooperation globally. IR4 is an organization that specializes in developing data. Domestically, we submit this data to the Environmental Protection Agency in the United States. We were established in 1963. And over the last decade or so, we've been shifting from a domestic organization to one which is also involved in international activities. So we have a series of both field stations and laboratories whereby we develop research protocols. We conduct the field phase involving the application of new products for development of pest management. We analyze the residues and then submit them to EPA. As I mentioned, we have expanded not only now to EPA, but also to Codex. Codex is the international organization under FAO, which is associated with establishing MRLs or pesticide residue limits on crops such as olives and all crops. So we work on specialty crops. Why? Because most of the major companies are not interested in developing data on things such as olives. They want to register things on corn or soybeans or all of the major crops. So we develop data to help crops such as olives have new pest management tools. Of course, olives have pest problems just like all crops, such as the olive fruit fly. And we develop both conventional and biopesticide-based approaches to pest management. So some of the successes of IR4 project specifically on olives, we've developed new products that resulted in the registration and the availability of these new pest management tools for growers, including these insecticides. Several products for disease management, both managing fungal diseases and bacterial diseases. Also for weed control. And these are only, I specified ones on olives, but we work on a very wide variety of crops. Of course, pest management and their residues resulting from the use of pesticides are important because they can impact exports. So when olives or olive oil are exported, they can be subject to analysis in the incoming country, and there can be issues if the pesticide residues exceed an MRL. And one of the problems is that globally, there may be different maximum residue limits or MRLs in different parts of the world. So for example, buprofizin has a tolerance in the US of 5 ppm, but in the EU, it's only 0.01. And then opposed to that, at the bottom of the table, you have oxaflurofin. In the US, you have an MRL of only 0.05 part per million, whereas in the EU, it's 1.0. So these differences in MRLs can cause trade issues. So the vision of our organization is to develop a global network of minor use or specialty programs to solve the minor use pest management problems. And we want to develop partnerships globally. And not only do we want to develop the partnerships, we actually do want to develop data jointly, and in the end, have a more harmonized result. In other words, we want to have an even playing field between the MRLs in all parts of the world. And we can help do that by establishing data simultaneously. We have completed a number of projects funded by the Standards Trade and Development Facility, which is part of the World Trade Organization. Most of these currently have involved tropical crops, but we are involved in a number of crops in many parts of the world. There's also an organization we are affiliated with called the Minor Use Foundation, which has started to fund work globally, focusing on pesticide residues in specialty or minor crops. So these are the priorities that are currently listed for the Minor Use Foundation. Some of these are already funded, and some are under development. And you can see we have a very wide variety of crops, both temperate crops, greenhouse crops, and tropical crops. As far as future cooperation, that can be either with Greece or other parts of the world that may be listening in on this presentation. What you would need would be to have field facilities capable of conducting residue studies, having the analytical equipment, such as LC-MS, and also suggest cooperation through the European partnerships. Thank you. I assume that I am out of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Braverman. I see you're within your time. So if you have to add anything, you're welcome. But